Haha.
Here we go.
So, but now let me turn this off. Okay. Haha. Now we are live.
Hey guys, welcome to Fox Barks. Every week, live at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Once again, thank you guys for waiting for us. We're really excited to talk about something very interesting today. And I know my sister, she likes to game from time to time, but I am a very avid gamer. And my favorite thing to talk about, besides just gaming in general, is also spooky stuff, horror stuff.
So we love horror, and the spookier the game, the better.
Exactly.
And I would say, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
Yep.
Those are the ones that really got us.
Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame.
Exactly. So for us, on last week's stream, we talked a lot about nostalgia gaming, which to me is very important in my life. And I know you had a lot of discussion with me when it comes into our nostalgic trips with Pokemon and the Final Fantasies and stuff like that. So
maybe move this a little bit more.
It's
It's all tilted. Yeah, it's like flipped funny.
But one thing that my sister and I really enjoy a lot is talking a lot about, speaking of spooky games. And we're going to be talking about the big three, which is, once again, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Fatal Frame. So before I start talking a lot about it, because I can talk hours upon hours about this, I want to know about you, sis. I want to know, what was the first introduction for you when it came into scary video games, from what you can remember?
I would say it was probably Silent Hill. I'd say Silent Hill 1.
Yeah, Silent Hill 1 for the PlayStation 1.
For the PlayStation, which is funny because we got to replay it a while back, and it was not as scary as I remember it being. Yeah. Especially when you play it on a TV that's a lot bigger than it was meant to be played, and everything looks really blocky.
By the way, Julia says horror games, best games. Agreed.
But it was one of those games that was really different, and I actually really liked watching people play it. So I only played it maybe like a couple of times just to see, and I got really frustrated with it, and I'm not very good at scary games. So I like to let other people play that, and I like to help solve the puzzles. Or where to go, or kind of be like the second set of eyes on watching for stuff, or like picking things up. Exactly.
And what I really love about my sister is when it came into us growing up with scary video games, once again, she wasn't really much into playing them, but she did like to watch. And I always remember back in the day with the PlayStation 1 where we were actually on your room on the second floor of our mom's place, and we had this like big CRT TV that we hooked up to PlayStation 1. And we were playing Resident Evil 2. And I don't know if the stream has seen with Resident Evil 2 of how it is. Oh, excuse me. Guest star. And I don't know if the stream knows about Resident Evil 2, but in Resident Evil 2, when it starts, you get literally bunched up with a bunch of zombies. So if you don't know anything about spooky games, like you're just straight up shooting zombies and you're just like, what is going on here? They're going to trample you and you're going to die. And I remember Felipe playing in your room. He literally died 5 seconds in when it came into like starting the game. And I remember he like looked back at us and he's just like, all right, who wants to play? Yeah. And we're just like, no, it's too scary.
I'm like, I'm just going to watch it. I'm like, I like watching it like a movie.
Exactly.
So it's more fun for me to just like watch other people that don't get as frustrated, because I'm the type of person that just ends up tossing the controller and just getting mad at it and walking away.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I'd rather give it to him and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, but like I said, with last stream, we talked a lot about nostalgia. And for me, I really consider spooky games, especially like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, very nostalgic to me, for the fact is that I remember my sister literally watching me play Resident Evil 2 from like start to finish. And it was something very memorable, because I always knew when my sis was really excited is because she stayed really quiet, just really quiet, as like I traversed through the corridors, like shooting zombies. And then she might say like a little thing here or there. But when they came to the puzzles, she was just like, oh yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm just like, oh, thanks, sis.
Yeah, like A+.
Exactly. But it's interesting because if the stream has played other scary games, especially starting from like the PlayStation 1 and onwards, you start to see a real change when it comes to the games. For example, if people played Resident Evil 2, they know that it's a bit more action-based. It is action survival horror, but there's a little-known game that kind of changed the whole genre of it, and that is Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot of wonderful memories when it came into Silent Hill. I know I do too as well. If the stream doesn't know about it, which I want to say you do. I mean, there was a movie about it, so
there's two movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I did actually enjoy the first movie. I know a lot of people thought it was a terrible movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, it didn't follow the game 100%, of course, but it was actually like not terrible.
Yeah.
Because I know people that went to go see the movie that didn't know anything about the game were just like, okay, this is kind of just like a B-rated movie at most. But if you had, you played the game, or you kind of knew the characters a little bit. What is it? They changed Cheryl's name.
Yeah, exactly. To like, it was like Heather, or it was something else. But it was like, you're like, what? Really?
There's a couple of little changes here and there, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I liked it because I love the idea of Silent Hill, because Silent Hill is based on the town of Centralia in Pennsylvania. And
exactly.
I love abandoned towns and all this stuff that's like haunted and just scary. So when I found out that there is a Silent Hill, sort of, I mean, not full of monsters and all this stuff, but there is a town in the United States that has burning mines that are just going to continue burning for an indefinite amount of time.
Burning till this day. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's just like, it's weird because it's a really sad story. If you ever want to know about it, go online, especially like if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of really sad videos about Centralia. Yeah,
it's like Centralia.
Yeah, it's like
it's something. But it's cool because the thing is, actually, hold on. Maria Valentic says, I'm such chicken shit. I can watch people play horror, but the last horror game I played was Evil Within and couldn't even last 30 minutes. Well, funny enough is, just a little side note for what Maria said is, the Evil Within was created by the director and producer called Shinji Mikami, and he is the same guy who actually did the creation of Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's funny because like going on to like the later Resident Evils, like Resident Evil 4 and onwards, it was made by a different developer, but Shinji like had his own studios, and he was just like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make my own series, and he did the Evil Within. I'm not gonna lie, Maria, lots of courage to that, because even for me, I was like, wow, this game was really scary. I beat it, but honestly, I gotta say it was scary from like start to finish.
Yeah.
But what I really Julia's saying something. I want to visit in real life Silent Hill. Haunted, abandoned places are at the top of my list. Oof.
Yeah.
You know what? I want you to actually, before I even go on my spiel of Silent Hill, I want you to say a little bit about abandoned and scary places.
Well, I know. Well, I was talking about the Centralia place. You can go to it, but there's not a whole lot to see anymore. There's this road where a lot of people just spray paint and kind of trash the place. But the town itself, most of it is pretty much gone. And if you do end up driving through it, it's somewhat dangerous in areas because there's a lot of like just pits. And I mean, I don't think cars get completely sucked in, but I mean, your car could get ruined while you're there. But I've seen a lot of people go, take pictures of this highway that's really spooky, supposedly. And people say they see ghosts and stuff like that. But I have yet to go to that one. And it's so filled with tourists now, and it's so trashed that I'm like, it's kind of sad because like everybody started going there after they found out that Silent Hill was based on that city. I mean, on that town. Yeah. And that town was booming like years and years back. It's just that because of the accident of all the burning and stuff going underground, it's just a ghost town now, literally. And I think there's only like 4 people living there.
Yeah,
now.
I was about to say that. There's actually a couple of people still living there because it's like, hey, I was born and raised in Centralia, and I'm going to still stay on Centralia until the day I die. By the way, Maria once again says, I was really gutted about PT cancellation because I love Silent Hill's lore / style. It was very interesting because Silent Hills, which was going to be created with Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, was going to be a really, really interesting and very scary, very spooky Silent Hill. I don't know if you've actually seen the demo of PT, of Silent Hill PT.
Is the one that was in the wasn't in the room?
That was in the PlayStation 4.
With the baby in the sink and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I did get to see that one, and the lady that's like up watching you and just.
Exactly.
That one was really messed up.
And you know what's funny is once Konami shut its doors when it came into creating Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill, you saw a lot of people selling their PlayStation 4s online on eBay saying like, I got the demo of PT because they removed it from the PlayStation store. So they started selling that for like higher prices on PlayStation 4. It's like, you ain't gonna get it anymore. But
that one was really scary because it's like it felt weird because you're going in like circles almost, like a deja vu kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then it kept on changing and changing, and the way that the graphics engine was done for that was really pretty. Well, and scary, and the noises and all that stuff just really kind of got to you.
Well, I don't know if the stream knows this, but with Silent Hill PT or Silent Hills, they actually use the same engine as Metal Gear Solid. So it's actually kind of interesting because the camera angles that they used were a lot different compared to Metal Gear Solid. So it didn't feel like it was the same game, but they used the same engine, which was interesting. But another cool thing about Silent Hill VR, I mean, the PT is you can actually do it in VR. And a lot of people tried it out with VR, and honestly, I'm still just a tad bit skeptical of VR. I know it's awesome, I know it is, but from what I saw from the Silent Hill PT, it looked amazing and super duper scary. I was like, wow. I'm like, why didn't this get created?
Yeah,
it's like, what a shame, you know?
Well, I mean, I was talking to you the other day. Like, are there any like just super scary VR games that like I'm gonna put them on and I'm literally just gonna like pee my pants, pretty much?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm looking for that type of VR experience where it's like nightmare inducing.
Oh, Matt Ulrey says they took the VR version down. I gotta find it. Yeah, there's workarounds to try to get it, but it's like such a pain. I'm like, ugh. Okay. I'm like Konami, and the funniest thing is when Sis and I, when we went to Japan and we went to the YouTube space. We were on like the 20-something floor or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the 28th floor or something like that.
And I remember seeing in this beautiful view of Tokyo, and you could see like everything. And what's one of the biggest buildings that you could see? Konami.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell, man? Stop making those pachinkos. Stop making those gotcha games. I'm like, nah, work on Metal Gear Solid and work on Silent Hill. But such is life.
No. This is sad.
Julia goes, holy shit, I didn't know PT could be done in VR. I know what I'm doing next. Yeah. I'm like, yep, exactly. Matt, it was too scary. Matt Ulrey, Richie's plank is pretty insane. Oh, Giovanni, how was Japan? Well, Japan was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
But it's cool. It's cool because in Japan has a lot of history when it comes to like spooky stuff. And I remember...
Yeah. Well, we went to go look for scary stuff. So... when we were there, we're like, all right, we want to scare ourselves. We want to go do some urbex. That was the first year that I went with you. We tried to do some urbex. We got lost, really lost, going out from Tokyo. And we were 3 hours out from Tokyo just about.
Yep.
Because the GPS kept on saying, oh, it's 3 hours. And for some reason, it was like 5+ hours where we were supposed to go. But Google Maps decided to tell me otherwise.
Yep.
And then we got to an area where nobody spoke any English whatsoever, because a lot of places in Tokyo they do.
Yeah.
And none of the signs were in English anymore, which wasn't fun. But at the time, Andres was the only one that could read it.
Yeah.
It's like, now I can fend for myself and not die. But it's just one of those things. We were going out there to want to spook ourselves because there was an abandoned theme park that was Western based.
It was like Wild Western theme park or something like that, and it was pretty cool.
It was awesome. So, but we did not get to go over there, sadly, and that was one day before Halloween, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that because we were going on like Hallows Eve, like supposedly like the scariest day is the day before Halloween. And so we're like, all right, we're going to do that and see what we can find, or Halloween itself. But we can never find it. It was too far away. So sadly, we didn't get to do that.
Okay, so Heather Pat says, what game is more scary? So when it really comes down to it, you got to really think between like the top 3 series. And usually it throttles it down to like more like top 2 series. And it's Resident Evil and Silent Hill. It really depends on your type of dose of what you want, because Resident Evil is a bit more action based. Even with the classic Resident Evils, they had the tank controls, so it was a little bit scarier just by the controls itself. But I personally like to think that Silent Hill was a lot scarier because from what they did it psychologically, while Resident Evil is like, ooh, like you got zombies, which is scary. But when it came into Silent Hill, you had so many different creatures and monsters that were just messed up. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but in Silent Hill 1 in Midwich Elementary School, you had like little babies that like had knives.
Yeah. Oh, remember, you were the one that was telling me that it depends on where the game was released, that
they would change
they would change things that were either culturally inappropriate
Mm-hmm.
or something that was against somebody that you couldn't release it.
So Stream, I don't know if you know this, but when Silent Hill 1 for the PlayStation 1 got released worldwide, it in Australia, it actually it got a bit modified with the game, because for the fact is that when you were in the elementary school, you saw the babies with the knives, or like the little kids with the knives, and they deemed that too inappropriate. So what they did was they actually changed it to some like bear monster instead of the little kids with the knives. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the like cultural changes and stuff like that. But yeah. So Julia says, it is incredibly difficult to actually scare me in game. Most are just really fun to play and laugh when there's a jump scare. So I'm always on the hunt for truly pee my pants scary.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make a mess kind of game. Oh my goodness, like what happened?
But you really start to realize, I'm like, when you want to play a scary game, or for example, you want to watch a scary movie, like what type of scares do you really want? Do you want like those like mind scares, or do you want like the like shock scares?
No, like the shock scares, they spook you like quickly, like for a little bit, and you're like, all right, I feel spooked. But I want thank you, Varric.
Oh, Varric, thank you. Pizza fun.
Yeah, it is. Look, it filled up. See, we got
yay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Varric. Thank you.
So I don't know. It's like, it's weird because it's like I just watched the movie Us. And that movie I thought was pretty scary. I'm not going to reveal what happens in it, but it was actually pretty awesome. And I actually like that type of scare. But there's a lot of jump scares that they've made the movies like so cheap. And I think a lot of the times games feel really cheap with just like the typical jump scare. I don't know. It just has to be like this. The ambience has to be scary. It's just the story has to be solid, and it just has to like mess with you. And if you take that either the movie or the game with you, and you keep thinking about it after you've like beat the game or you've watched the movie, I think that's the sort of like horror that I like, that stays with you. And like today, I was telling you, Pet Sematary came out today, and I'm excited to see it because as a kid, that movie destroyed me. Like Stephen it scarred me. And it was, I mean, it's a movie, if you watch it again, it's kind of tacky, but it's good in its own kind of weird way. I mean, the book is better, but it's so scary and messed up, and it talks about death and all the stuff that people have to deal with, and it's just odd, especially because, we lose our pets and people lose kids and all this stuff, and it's just like, ugh. But the new one, I'm excited to watch it.
You know what's interesting is you and I, we love anything scary, but you really start to realize what is it that personally makes like the ambience, the atmosphere, and that's the reason why I personally love Silent Hill a bit more than Resident Evil is the music. The music makes or breaks a scary video game, and really cool. Yoshitoshi Abe, which is the director of Silent Hill, is the director, but he also does the music for Silent Hill. And I don't know if the stream has actually heard of some of the Silent Hill music, but it is some of the most, and I know this sounds very emo to say, but some of the most beautifully depressing music you will ever hear in your life. After the stream, if you want, go to YouTube and put Theme of Lara. The most chilling song. And especially if you played Silent Hill, it will definitely bring it back. That's why I love Silent Hill. I don't know. Like, the monsters are scary, like, they have, the tank controls like Resident Evil, but just the darkness, the alarm that Harry has on his little pocket every time he hears a monster, it's crazy.
It keeps you on your toes the entire time, because if you think about, like, the story from Silent Hill 1, and it's like he's looking for his kid, so it's
Cheryl?
That's
is that Cheryl?
It's already the panic of like, where's your kid?
Yeah.
And you're going through this fog, you can't see very well, so you start adding all these elements of fear, and then you think about it like, okay, like random laughing noises where it's supposed to be creepy, and you're just like, where's this kid? Why is it like at the school?
Yeah, exactly.
Like random things walking around or moving. It's stuff that scares you. It's the same sort of stuff that I look for when I go to like haunted places or abandoned locations. You're looking for that.
You're just scared of bums.
Yeah, I'm scared of like legit getting like attacked by people living there, but because that's a lot scarier to me than some sound or something that popped up. But it's the feeling, it's the tone, it's the environment. Everything has to like combine itself, and I think Silent Hill does that extremely well.
Exactly. So From what Julia says, yes, Pet Cemetery. I really hope it's good. I hope it's good as well.
Your girlfriend's going to see it tonight,
yeah.
so we'll see if she thinks it's any good. I'm going to ask her.
So it's like,
I mean,
we'll see.
I still want to see it. I mean, there is one part of the old movie that I will bring it up because this has probably messed me up for forever. When the little kid, the one that dies, goes underneath the old man's bed.
Oh, God.
And cuts the Achilles heel and he like falls over. It's so gross. It's just... It bothered me for so long that for a long time as a kid, I would jump off the bed thinking somebody was hiding underneath the bed with like a blade to like
yeah, exactly.
cut me.
You're like, don't cut me. Don't cut me.
It was like the dumbest thing to be worried about, but that's something that scared me as a kid.
So Giovanni says, so what about the Silent Hill movies? So you've watched Silent Hill, the first one. Did you watch the second one?
I watched the second one, but I thought it was kind of garbage. I watched it again not that long ago.
Yeah?
It's the one with the girl.
With Heather?
Yeah, with Heather.
Yeah, exactly. But she's really
like
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Heather is Cheryl.
But you know, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm a Silent Hill fanboy, but I actually thought it wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be way worse, but it wasn't that bad. Yeah, Silent Hill 1 is a lot better.
I think it's a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, they're not bad movies. Like, it's not something you'd be like, would I ever watch it again?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be down to watch it again.
Julia's
Bye, Julia. Awesome seeing you. Thanks for the stream. Coming to the stream.
Like, yay.
But, yeah, the Silent Hill movies are good. They're definitely worth of a watch. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about Silent Hill, and we've been talking a lot about Resident Evil. However, I want to talk a little bit about Fatal Frame.
Yeah. That's not a game that I hear a lot of people talk about for some reason, even though the game itself is really good. I mean, you're not going around shooting, like shooting stuff. You are shooting with your camera to catch ghosts. So it's a different type of game. You're catching spirits.
Yeah.
With your camera.
So what's interesting with Fatal Frame is it's funny because when Fatal Frame 1 got released for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, it didn't really get a lot of like awesome sales reception. It actually did all right. It kind of did a little bit worse than all right. And what's interesting is I remember seeing Fatal Frame 1 for the PlayStation 2 on just like a bargain bin. And I always thought it was funny because the first game in the cover, it talks about based on a true story.
Oh.
Because of the Mamiya mansion.
Yeah.
And remember when we were in Japan and we're like, we're going to go find this mansion because it's based on a true story.
It does not exist.
It does not exist, yeah.
Like we looked everywhere we thought it would be, and I looked online, and some people are like, this is a house, and it doesn't exist. It's an urban legend.
It is.
So don't go looking for it. You're not going to find it.
It's like you try to find online where the Mamiya mansion is in Fatal Frame 1, and if you go to Google, it just says in the quote-unquote outskirts of Tokyo. And you're like, okay, Tokyo's pretty big.
That's pretty big. It's not you just go, just outside Orlando. Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're not going to find it because it does not exist.
Yeah, exactly. So Barrack Wolf says, not familiar with Silent Hill myself, but the combination of menacing music and the dark ocean depths in the opening scenes of Jaws is classic.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That is a classic and super scary. I mean, that came out, like in the 70s? Yeah, well,
it was funny because when Jaws came out, my mom was really disturbed by it because she used to live on a boat for a while. And it was one of those things that they would deal with sharks and everything, and then they go like snorkeling and scuba diving and stuff. It was, you worried about sharks. And then this comes out and it kind of amplified the fear of sharks to a lot of people. And that was one of those movies that I watched at an inappropriately young age as well. And it kind of fed this extra fear, even though I was obsessed with being in the ocean. And another one that's along that time too that also fed another weird fear was Cujo.
Oh, Cujo.
So...
Another Stephen King novel / movie.
Yeah, so it's like you start adding all these things, and it's like big scary dogs like wanting to like eat you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Random like big scary shark wants to eat you, and that movie, especially with Jaws, like the music and everything, it really gets you going.
Yeah.
And aside that I love watching like the making of that movie and how many animatronic sharks they went through and how everything kept on failing on them, it's pretty insane that they got all that done back in the day and they made it look pretty good for its time.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That movie still stands to the test of time because even watching it now, it's still pretty scary. But it's also really cool and really well done of how it was done.
Well, I just watched I'd say it's a pretty bad movie, The Meg.
With the shark?
Yeah.
It's like the megalodon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never
And I was
watched
like,
it.
why are they calling it the Meg? And then I watched the movie and I'm like, oh, it's a megalodon. But so CG sharks and animatronic sharks. So I have a love for animatronics. I love like practical effects over CG effects, even though I studied like how to do like 3D stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is your eye still can tell how fake it is, like when you're not interacting with something that isn't even physically there. So if you watch the Meg, it's so bad.
Giovanni's goes, Meg is so horrible.
No, it is.
That's funny.
It's horrible. I'm like watching this and I'm like, I want to like it because I love shark movies. Sharknado was ridiculous. All the Sharknados. So those I don't particularly care for. But most of the shark movies like Deep Blue Sea and I mean all that stuff. I watch them just because I like to torture myself with shark movies. But I had a little bit of hope, like slight hope, that maybe the Meg was like kind of decent. But it was atrocious. It was really, really bad. So don't even waste your time seeing it, even though I think it is free right now on Netflix.
So I know we spoke about a bit of Fatal Frame, just a little bit. We spoke about Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Sis, I don't know if you heard about this game, Siren.
Not yet.
Ooh. So the stream, this game called Siren, it came out. There was a Siren 1 that came out in the United States. Siren is based in Japanese, like it's a Japanese story where like you pretty much play as different characters, but the zombies are called shibitos, and the shibitos are like these zombie-esque looking monsters that literally every time you get close to them, they start going like. And one of the things that I remember about this game, which was released on the PlayStation 2, was you in one scenario you played as a little girl, and your whole family is possessed, and you start off in the closet, peeking through the closet like opening, and you see your family eating, but they're all zombies. And they're eating and like talking to each other as zombies. And you as a little kid has to escape the house.
What's the name of that movie? I mean, the game that you play a little kid and hides in the closet too. And you have a little bear? Because I played that one on Steam, just a demo, and it was pretty scary.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It was a first person, right?
Yeah. And you're peeking through the closet, making sure nobody sees you.
Yeah. Oh,
and you have like your
Among
teddy
the Sleep.
Yeah.
Among the Sleep.
That one. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
That one bothered me because you're like a little kid and you're like stumbling around. And I'm like, I'm going to go hide under the bed real quick and then watch. And you're like watching the door kind of open. Like, like everything bothered you about that game because you have this like paranoia somebody's going to come and see you. And I hated that. And that I like that because, you're just a baby. So you're just like stumbling around.
Exactly.
You can't even run that fast.
By the way, Giovanni says Ghost Shark made no sense.
Oh, I have not.
I don't think I've seen Ghost Shark, but that actually sounds kind of awesome.
It's just there's so many bad shark movies that I could just like continue listing them. It's like ugh.
What? All right, Stream. What about this one series, or I want to say series? It's more like a game, and it got really popular. It became viral like a couple of years ago, and many people played it. Was Slender Man.
Oh yeah. It's so bad. I played it for a little bit.
You played it?
Yeah, because you're like in the woods and it's doing that like that weird noise.
Where you gotta collect like the 8 notes or something like that.
And you can't let Slender see you or something.
Yeah.
And he's got like octopusy kind of like
things
that come out, and you're just like, okay.
Well, yeah, that game was actually really spooky. I mean, it was very jump scary because it's funny because when you start off, it's very quiet and all you hear is like the footsteps, and you have like your flashlight or something's like But then once you pick up your first note, like the first note from somewhere, that's when Slender Man is like, I'm activated.
He starts to pop
activated.
up.
And the
like,
more notes you get up until like the 8th one,
and he's like in the trees and stuff, and he's just like,
and it's like, and if you see him, you have to like point your camera at him. So it's like, because if he catches behind you, he's just like turns you around, game over.
Yeah.
But I remember that game. And you know what's funny is that game became very popular, that they actually made an actual full-fledged game that they actually sold, because the one that we played was a Flash game and it was free, but they actually made like a $30 game and it actually did surprisingly well.
Yeah, no, I played the one that was on Steam. It was a download. I mean, it was a demo download.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit that I played of that one.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because like Slender Man has actually gotten a lot of people, like there's the whole story about Slender Man. There's a really sad one about these 2 girls that ended up like trying to murder her friend because Slender Man told them to do it. So there are some of these games, and I'm just like, I cannot believe how some of these kids take it. Yeah. So crazy overboard. So
yeah, like like they murdered their friend or something.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
They stabbed her like way too many times. I mean, I don't.
Because Slender Man told me.
Yeah, because they were doing it according to them to appease Slender Man.
Yeah, not
crazy. It's like, I think it's on HBO. It's one of the documentaries about like the real life like Slender Man and how people were like brainwashed by this. Because that was started off by a Reddit post, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
He was a creepypasta.
Yeah, Slender Man was a creepypasta, and then it worked its way into a Flash game, and then bam, it became super popular. It got really viral, almost like a good 5 or 6 years ago, and.
I mean, now it's not so much. I mean, now I hear about like stupid stuff like Momo.
Momo's pretty creepy though, I will admit.
But it's funny because like the girl that came up with the artist that did the sculpture, she's like, I did this because I wanted to make a creepy sculpture. Yeah. And then Reddit kind of like ran with like Momo tells you to do stuff. And then remember Wawa was telling that Momo pops up and like tells kids what to do when they're ordering sandwiches.
You know what's funny is I don't know if it was the creator, but maybe somebody that helped create Momo, but they actually made a Reddit post where they actually burned Momo officially, like the actual sculpture. Yeah, it's like, it's done. They got destroyed.
She probably burnt it because it's like, I'm not dealing with this anymore.
It's like, no more.
Like, Momo was just made to be this sculpture.
So, Maria says, oh, you're talking about those two teens that attacked their friend because of Slender Man? Yeah. It was really sad because the thing is, like, they literally calculated, like, the whole thing. Yeah. Like, they wrote it down, what they were going to do. They lured her into the woods and, like, stabbed her and stuff like that.
Oh, it's messed up. If you watch, like, any of the tapes, like, they're interviewing the girls in the documentary, it's messed up, like, how little remorse these girls have for them. And they're just, all they want to know is if they ended up killing their friend because they want to appease Slender Man. So, it's just weird.
Yeah, Maria says, I watched the documentary and it was pretty intense seeing what their mindset was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fleeting Fennec says, hello. Hey, Fleeting.
No, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens from, like, these lores and all these stories and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when we were in Japan, we wanted to get scared, so we wanted to go, but we didn't get to go that night. Remember, it was like this really haunted park that supposedly like everybody that goes gets to see something or something responds back to you, or you see something, and it's just like, okay, it was like you're definitely gonna go see it. Yeah. But, I mean,
by the way, Fleeting Fennec says, you guys are awesome. No,
thank you. But it's odd because we didn't have a chance to go, but we were looking for like spooky stuff to do.
Well, I mean, it was literally where we were like kind of nearby it. It was like, it was like 15 minutes away from us. And it was interesting because this park, apparently from what I read in Google, because, you know, we learn everything through Google University. I learned I learned that they did a lot of experiments back in World War II to like the Japanese people, and it was pretty heinous, some of the stuff that they did to test like different types of like viruses and like gases and like just nerve gases and stuff that they can use for weapons. So you could apparently the lore is that in this park you can actually still hear the ghosts of all the World War II Japanese soldiers that got messed up. Yeah, so it's funny because we've seen a couple of videos of it. We haven't really seen like actual footage of things going on.
You hear noises, like really creepy noises and stuff.
But it's really creepy. And you know what? Speaking of Japanese creepy stuff, place, like if you guys are fanatics of anything scary, and if you have the chance and the means of transportation, go to the Aokigahara Forest, which is commonly known as the Suicide Forest.
Yeah, just don't pull a Logan Paul.
Just don't pull Logan Paul and get worldwide news about how you're garbage. So.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't do that. I mean, we were trying to go up to the forest, but it was kind of a hike, especially if you didn't have a car. If you have a car, it's not as bad to get up there. And if we were going to take like the bus and stuff, it was still kind of out there for us when we were going.
Yeah. That guy. Exactly. But what's interesting is if you guys have seen, guys and gals and non-binary awesome people have seen YouTube videos of the Suicide Forest, one thing that everybody takes notice is the silence. Yeah. The silence of the forest. It's a huge sprawling forest. You can easily get lost there. Yeah.
If you stay off the path, the thing about that forest was when we were going to go, we were talking about like, well, if we stay on the path, I mean, we're not going to get lost if we stay on the path, and then you kind of follow it and everything. The problem is if you get off the path, there's just like open holes in the ground, so you can get just sucked into the ground. You can actually get hurt and kill yourself by accident in this forest. So you have to be very careful. A lot of the times people were finding bodies because they were following. Usually it's like little strings and stuff left behind. Yeah. Because a lot of the times people would put that. So if they wanted to come back and they kind of didn't want to kill themselves at the time, they would just follow that back. But most of the time people did do it, and I mean it's really sad. So it's a really sad forest, but we weren't going for the aspect that it was a sad forest. It's just that it's at the base of Mount Fuji.
It is. It's literally right next to Mount
really
Fuji.
Pretty, but there's a lot of like odd things that happened over there. Like it's just like it's called magnetism or something like that. It's just it messes with your phones, it messes with your cameras, it messes with a lot of things just because of the way that it's off a volcano.
Exactly. Fleeting Fennec says, "I rolls into infinity. I legit apologize to Japan on Twitter for that guy, lol."
Yeah. It was weird because I was there during the time that he did that, and we were trying to get YouTube space during that time when I went with Roscoe, and we couldn't book it during that time. And I'm like, okay, I wonder what's going on. It said Logan Paul had completely booked it the entire time. So it's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess we won't have any chance to do anything during that. And then he pulled that stunt and everything kind of went south with that. And I was at a con during that time, and it was really weird to say, hey, yeah, we're American, but we don't support that sort of stuff. Like, we didn't come here to disrespect anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, Fleeting Fennec, you're throwing some great questions and just great responses. Did y'all know that it was common practice in Japan back in the day, perhaps maybe still to this day, can confirm that elders preparing for death will walk into a forest to pass away? Wow, interesting. I didn't know about that. That's pretty cool.
It's so they weren't burdens to the rest of the family. So, yeah, no.
Japan.
It was really,
bringing shame to family.
It was really sad. This little dog wants to jump on my shoulder. You can go over there. It was weird because I had read about that too before, because I was reading about the forest and how a lot of kids will go there and they will die. They choose to die because they're not fulfilling what they think their family should be doing. Yeah. It's a really sad, all this is really sad if you read about it. And then they had also released this book a while back called The Suicide Manual, which has been pretty much blocked everywhere. It's actually really hard to find that book because I looked for it as a PDF just out of morbid curiosity. And you can only find find some
bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, some of the scans and stuff, but a lot of it got translated to multiple languages and sold in different countries, but eventually it was banned in a lot of countries. So I know it's banned here in the States, so you can't find it, but it was a manual on literally how to kill yourself, and it was based on how much it would hurt to do it, and it was based on ratings and stuff. It was almost like a Yelp review in a way.
Yeah, I was like, this is not a fun way to die.
It was really weird. There was movies done based on it. They're all pretty just kind of tacky, bad horror movies. But it was really messed up. And a lot of the people that they find in the forest, they do find this book close to their bodies. So a lot of people have taken this book to heart and then followed that stuff. And one of the, I guess, the more inexpensive ways of doing it and going into this forest is to hang yourself. Because they have a bunch of other ones like gassing yourself and all these things. And it's really just
I know it's
super disturbing.
Yeah, exactly.
To read this stuff, but you can easily find that book with a lot of the bodies that they find.
Let me see. Okay, so Giovanni says, "Did you guys enjoy the Fox Village?" I was not able to. Oh, you
didn't go.
Unfortunately.
I went. When I did, it was really out of the way. Fox Village. You have to go past Fukushima, which was really weird. Going by there, you couldn't see any, of course, the damage and stuff because it was still kind of away from the station. And then you head over to where the Fox Village is. But the Fox Village is in the middle of nowhere up in a mountain. It is beautiful.
Is there spooky stuff over there?
I don't know. There's a whole lot of nothing. I mean, it's really pretty. And I went during the fall, and it was great. I can't imagine going during the summer because foxes are pretty stinky. So when I went in, I think it was October when I ended up going, or November, it was still pretty chilly, but man, was it smelly. But those foxes were so friendly. Oh, friendly enough. But it's worth going if you have the time.
By the way, S. Lar says, society expects a lot from them, the Japanese people. Family, work, school. Some can handle all the stress and just, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, you've been to Japan numerous times. I want to say like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
I've been to Japan twice already, and I've studied Japan a good portion of my life ever since I was like 13 years old. I'm an older gentleman now. But one thing that you definitely notice is when it comes into just that honor, they do not want to bring shame to family. I know it's a stereotype and all this and that, but it's very ingrained in society. You wear your family crest and on your shoulders. So for them, being respectful is of the utmost importance. Maybe in a way they might not. Some of them might not want to be respectful, but they do it just because they were culturally like embedded into doing it on a day-to-day cycle.
I mean, you see it when you're there and you're visiting and everything. The way that people handle themselves, the way that work is done, the way that, I mean, and even going to a place like McDonald's, where a lot of the times you're here in the States and people are just not caring what they're doing. It's a very different society over there. There's a lot that I love about it, and then there's a lot that I see why they struggle so much sometimes to connect with other individuals. And we come from a Latin family, so we're very warm with each other and warm with people. And that is something that I even noticed over there, that sometimes I think if they were warmer with each other, it would avoid a lot of people wanting to, end their lives so early, especially a lot of these are kids. They're in high school. Or they're in middle school, and it's like you're ending your life at that point. You haven't really lived your life.
Okay, so Fleeting Fennec says, Lars, unfortunately, Japan has a very high suicide rate, which is true. That's why the kawaii aesthetic is super prevalent to help aid in the depressive collective experience of the country.
Oh,
wow, that's very interesting. You know what? I didn't put 2 and 2 together about that. That's actually really interesting, Fleeting, because it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it does. There's one that's like, it's like kawaii, but also like death. Remember we were watching a documentary about that? They're mixing like death and kawaii together, and there's a version of just like the super happy hardcore like kawaii type, like everything is cute, and then they also started combining a lot of like death and morbid aspects and blood and knives and all this stuff, and made it kind of cute and acceptable, because I started seeing some of that stuff, especially when you go to Harajuku. You see a mix of those things, which was interesting. So it's almost like in the States, a lot of the times it's like a lot of taboo to talk about like death and things, and it should be left more as a, it's a sad subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Over there, I've seen them mix it, and it's interesting. But I had heard something like that too, saying that it was done in a way to cope with a lot of the depressing things that are happening, and suicide.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. It says Carly Phoenix Wolf says, I can't wait to visit Japan hopefully this year.
You go. Also, by the way, kawaii means scary. Kawaii, it sounds at the end. Boot.
So Carly says, I can't wait to visit Japan hopefully this year. You should definitely visit Japan. It is an incredible and amazing experience. Whether you stay there for a couple of days or for more than a week, it will be something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Giovanni says, how many Shinto temples and shrines visit, and do you know anything about the Shinto religion? So for me, when it comes to the Shinto religion, I'm not an expert or anything, but I have just like the general idea about Shinto. Oh, shit. Sorry, Keeks. I know with Shintoism, they worship kamis, which are gods. But the thing about it is, with Shintoism, they worship thousands upon thousands of gods. There's like an insane amount of gods. And another cool thing to know about Shintoism is the Emperor of Japan, which it's about to change come May 1st. There's going to be a new emperor, Emperor Naruhito.
So classy. Is this part of our ASMR section?
I know, right? Oh, Keegan. But the new Emperor of Japan, or just Emperor of Japan in general, is essentially like the Pope of Shintoism, which is pretty cool. Fleeting Fennec says, I studied Japanese culture in college and got a grant to visit. I love the country. Yep. Also, by the way, kawaii means scary. Scary kawaii. E at the sound at the end means voot. Don't mix the two. Oh, cute. Means cute. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's just, I mean, it's interesting, the sort of stuff that you see over there. I find a lot of their horror monsters and lore, and they're just like, they're scary creatures, pretty terrifying compared to a lot of the stuff that we have here. And it's sort of the same thing that we had a lot of creepy monsters and stuff in Colombia that never came over here. So we've grown up with like scary stuff from the States and scary stuff from like South America, and then you go and see scary like stuff over there, and it's very different. It is. It's kind of like, I mean, if you think of like, this is very generic. Like you think of The Ring, right? It's creepy in its own way because
or the siren.
it's exactly like any of these noises and stuff, because you're not used to these. You've never heard of these stories, and I have like a fear of like not being able to see someone's face because you can't determine like what they're going to do, where they're going to go. You can't read an expression, and that's something that really scares humans.
So I want to know something, sis. Have you seen the Japanese movies of The Ring at all?
I've only seen the first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen the first one, but you've also seen the American ones, right?
Yeah, I've seen all the American ones.
So what would you recommend as a better one, and what would be the reasons for it?
Well, it's...
Because they're different. They're a lot different.
No, they're different. It just kind of depends. Like, I went through a binge of, like, Asian horror, and we watched a lot of Thai horror, which was really different. Yeah, it's
Thai?
like Thai horror, which was completely different. And they also believe in different creatures. And then we had watched a lot of just like Chinese, Japanese, just all different types of horror. But I think it's good to watch both of them. It just depends. Like, The Ring, all that stuff, the American ones, they have more of that Hollywood kind of feel. Yeah. So if you like that sort of movie. But the Japanese ones are older movies too. So if you don't like older movies, or you don't have the patience to watch the older ones, it's of course lower budget. It's a lot darker. Yeah. So a lot of stuff is not as clear to see. But I mean, it has its own allure, I think.
It does.
So it's a lot like the older scary movies. They might not scare you as much as like maybe one of the newer ones, but at the same time, there's just like weird allure around these.
Well, it's interesting because I've watched the Japanese version of The Ring, Ringu, and I've also watched The Ring, the American version. And what's interesting is the American version, they get a lot more, like, I want to say jump scare, but like it's much more up in your face. While in the Japanese version, they want to create the ambience of keeping it super creepy. But overall, scary wise, I mean, I might be a little biased because we grew up with the American Ring, like the first one. And watching the Ring, the Ringu,
she's physically crawling out of a TV.
Yes.
Like a open box.
A CRT TV.
A CRT. Yeah, it's like, no.
Thanks to the VHS tape.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the other thing too. These movies are dated now because it's like, who spreads the VHS tape? And then remember, they came out with rings.
Yeah, exactly.
And that one was like, spread the video, the viral video.
That one was
so bad.
So stupid. I was like, really, Hollywood?
That one, it popped up and I'm like, I gotta see it. I like all the Ring ones. And it's like, oh my God, don't spread the viral video that's gonna kill you all. And it's like, okay, like, this is just tacky.
So S. Lars says they have a special fandom for spirits called yokai. They even make cartoons, little yokai watch.
Oh yeah.
And you know what's interesting is yokai watch is incredibly popular in Japan. In the United States, unfortunately, it really isn't. It really isn't.
I mean, you see toys and stuff, but it's not like
the thing is they were trying to compete with Pokemon, and
that's not with the kitty cat.
Yeah, it's kind of a kitty cat. Yeah, exactly. It's really cute.
Oh yeah, because he's got like a thing
super kawaii. But honestly, like the market is just so different. You have to understand, Pokemon is hard to topple, and yokai is like, I'ma do it, and it's like Pikachu's like, bro, stop. It's like, you're done, kid. You're done.
You're not gonna get it.
But Carly says, I watched The Ring when I was like 10 and it terrified me for the next 10 years, lol. Yes. And you know what's funny is from what I remember in the American version of The Ring, in the one scene and like early in the beginning when one of the girls gets killed and then there's like a person talking about her, like you see they open up the closet and her face is like super messed up, like blah, like her jaw's like blah, coming out. I'm just like, this will be etched in my brain forever.
Yeah. Oh, they had some pretty scary stuff in there.
Fleeting Fennec, lol, it reminds me of Scary Movie 3 when Brenda's fighting the chick that comes out of the TV. That'd be me.
I guess it's so tacky. I mean, some of these horror like effects are so tacky. You just go, okay. All right, I guess that'll... Sure, whatever. Let's just let it go.
That just reminded me of Scary Movie. Scary Movie is such a funny film. Like, it was a product of its time.
Yeah.
But my favorite is Scary Movie 2 when they're in the ring. Yeah, right?
Shazam!
Shazam! Yeah, I just love when in Scary Movie 2, James Woods is a priest, and then he comes in to like the Exorcist place, and the girl's like, "Wow!" like going all crazy, and he goes like, "F this," and he's like, comes, just leaves. Oh man.
Yeah, like, they are products of their time. They're funny because they're so bad, and they're making fun of like all those movies.
And then it's like one of them's on a wheelchair, and then he just like goes out the window, and you see it's like a Firestone wheel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because all the Firestone stuff was going bad during that time, and you're just like, ooh,
oh man,
like that's edgy.
Does everyone? So Alpha Wolfie says, does everyone remember the first time they watched Aliens? So we're talking if it's Alien or Aliens, because if it's Aliens, I don't remember exactly when the first time it was, but I remember it freaked me out. It was a super scary film. Like, they don't mess around when it comes into the Aliens franchise.
No, I watched that one really early on too, and I thought that was pretty scary. I mean, it was cool because that's when you start really liking.
I think that was James Cameron too.
Yeah, they're all
because there's Alien and then there's Aliens, which is the sequel.
Yeah, but there's like all of them are directed by like different people.
No, they are, but I is it what was the girl's name? Ripley?
It's Ripley, yeah.
Ripley, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because I liked Ripley because I thought it was really cool to have like this badass chick character.
Yeah.
That it wasn't like your typical, you know, like save me, I am hopeless. Exactly, and it's like really cool sets and the monsters themselves too. I forget the name of the artist that they based the monsters off of, but I started researching him a little bit, and he was obsessed with dicks. So
it's like, oh, make a dick monster.
He literally, the alien is like a giant dick. And if you have to look up the artist, and he made a bunch of like sculptures and buildings and everything, and there's a bunch of really gothic, morbid kind of art, and it's all extremely phallic, all of it.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, especially like the way like the heads are and stuff like that.
The more I started reading about it, the more I started seeing the artists that designed these characters. It made a lot more sense why they looked a specific way, why they do certain things, why certain stuff happens, and it's like, oh, this is really odd.
H.R. Geiger, Varric Wolf says. And he says, I'll date myself terribly and say I saw the original Alien at the theater. Oh, respect. That's actually really cool.
I'll see H.R. Geiger is the artist that did the Aliens.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Obsessed with wieners.
Obsessed.
Yes, like that's all I got from the art.
Oh, yeah, Alpha Wolf, yeah. H.R. Geiger was the alien artist. So Fleeting Fennec says, so I've always have combated horror stuff or anything that scares me with comedy. So it's embarrassing to watch a scary movie with friends because I will laugh at the worst times. That's true.
Oh, that's funny.
It's true. It's true because really think about it. It's like you either laugh it off or you just get super scared. It's kind of like a self-defense mechanism. I mean, I do the same thing too when it comes to scary movies. Like if a movie's scaring me or something, I just take a step back and go, this is a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
This isn't real. So it's like...
So if we're going to play the I will date myself game, I will bring up another movie. So there was a movie forever ago. Watched it as a kid. Dad was like, you're going to watch this movie so you can never sleep again.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And A+, I'll do that. But when I watched it as a kid, I forgot the name of this movie. Mm-hmm. Completely forgot. And it took me a while because, you know, before you could just type it on Google and find whatever. Like, literally, I typed it describing the movie like an idiot. And then, boom, there goes the title for it. Old movie. And I think it's another Stephen King book, too.
Okay.
Cat's Eye.
Okay, I thought you were thinking about Chucky.
No. Chucky's you guys.
Chucky's scared me as a little kid.
You guys are scared by Chucky. But I'm slightly older. So I watched Cat's Eye. And it was about these little gremlins that would like come out of the wall. No. And they jump on your chest. And you're asleep as a kid. And they suck your like soul and your breath through there. And eventually they like kill you. But the cat would like scare them away and stuff.
Interesting.
And it was with Drew Barrymore.
Really?
When she was a little kid. Like... after E.T. or during that same time.
That's
she did like
cool.
Firestarter and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say Firestarter, so I remember as a little kid.
It's like all that old stuff. And that movie just scared me.
Okay, so Fleeting Fennec. Gosh, why does everything have to involve dicks? Hollywood. Giovanni says, werewolf movies. Which one do you find scary?
None.
Ooh, I'm like, yeah.
I'm gonna go with none.
I'm like, I don't really remember. I mean, maybe Twilight.
Yeah, because it's scary bad.
Vampires sparkle, okay? And then it was like Team Werewolf or Team Vampire. Oh, I'm like, I remember that. I was like, God, no.
I'm so glad that that's pretty much gone. It was so terrible. I mean, I fell into it. I read the books because I'm like, I got to see what's up with this stuff. I read all of them, and I had to go see the movies, and they were just atrocious. But
little furries love werewolves. What you mean? Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't find them scary. I would say to me, we'll turn it around. Not scary werewolves, but to me, the best werewolf-looking werewolf that I thought was decent was the Van Helsing werewolf.
Ooh, Alpha Wolfie says Werewolf in London. That was actually a pretty solid one too.
But I wasn't scared with them. I thought they were
cool. They were cool, yeah, but it wasn't scary.
Oh, and the other one, I think it's just called Wolf. It's the one that has Jack Nicholson and he gets bit by a wolf on the road.
Oh, yeah?
I watched that one in the movie theater, also inappropriate age, because my aunt took me and she didn't know what she was taking me to go see. She's like, it's a scary movie. And I'm like, oh.
Well, you got me thinking about werewolves. Wasn't there one with Michael J. Fox where he's like a high school student and he gets bit?
Teenage, like Teen Wolf.
Yeah, exactly, or something. He's like a basketball player or something.
Horrid.
They're just like...
It's like, let's stick some hair to you. I'm like, it just looked like the old Hollywood werewolf, which doesn't really have like much of a muzzle or anything.
Yeah, it was like a human-esque werewolf.
It just looks like a Yeti.
No.
More like anything.
No, okay, Fleeting Fennec says, personally, I like Professor Lupin from Harry Potter. He had a cool representation.
Yeah. See, that one's fine. I forgot that that's considered a werewolf.
Professor Lupin was from which Harry Potter? Because I've only watched... Guys, don't hate me.
He's like the Black Wolf. Yeah.
I've only watched a couple of Harry Potters. I haven't watched the whole series, so I'm not 100% sure who Professor Lupin is.
Yeah, he's like a darker Black Wolf.
Okay. Cool.
But I mean, that's fine. There's like the thing that I have, and this is probably like the most furry thing I'll say about this, is werewolves bother me in a lot of ways the way that they're portrayed in Hollywood, because they're always made with like no tails. And it's, I mean, yes, I understand that part of the lore, like a lot of them don't have tails, but man, like I said, the one from Van Helsing is like almost perfection. Almost. It's cool. It's got cool little ears and big teeth and all this stuff, and it's gigantic, but it has like no tail. And I'm like, it would be perfect if it had that tail. Yeah. And the rest of the other ones that I've seen, like Werewolf in Paris and all that stuff, it has a cool transformation scene, but they look like monkeys.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything ends up looking like a Yeti. So it's like a Yeti with digigrade legs. I'm like, ew. So, or a dog with mange.
Let me see. So Giovanni says, well, first Fleeting Fennec goes, Prisoner of Azkaban was Professor Lupin. So thank you for that, Fleeting. Giovanni says, so what about Wolfman? That's the one that have you watched that one?
I just watched Wolfman a little bit the other day. The one that was like the remake with Anthony Hopkins and stuff. That movie
that was the one.
Horrible. Okay. I watched 20 minutes of it and had to turn it off. I've seen it before and I forgot how bad this movie was. I don't care for the original Wolfman from like the Hollywood look. To me it just looks like a monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a fuzzy person. So
I
don't like it.
Out of anything, unfortunately we're gonna have to end this stream. However, we've had a really good time talking to you guys when it comes into scary games and movies or anything cultural related with scary stuff.
I mean, we can, if you guys like talking about horror stuff, because we can talk about
horror we can talk about it for hours on end.
long time. Hours on end. And we could just continue. We can completely continue talking about horror movies and just horror stuff. And we can even talk about some of the horror experiences and things that we've had and some sketchy stuff that has happened to us and some stuff that's happened to me. And the other thing to mention, too, I could bring it up for the next stream if you guys want to see it. To hear about it, because I do have some photos and stuff. I did do a lockdown at Waverly Hills because I like getting locked into abandoned asylums and hospitals and anything that could scare me. So I can bring up, that stuff and talk about it and experiences if you guys want to hear about it. And how to book your own trip to go do all these things because it's super fun. But yeah, it's like we can definitely talk more horror stuff.
And also, yes, Fleeting Fennec is actually Lolo, so I don't have to say the full business name. So from now on, you are Lolo or Ren to me. So.
So before we end this completely, I did say that I will be giving away a Mixed Candy shirt over on Twitter. So what you have to do is I'm going to pick one person. The first person to DM me at Latin Vixen right now will get one of the Mixed Candy shirts that I'm sending out. So we're going to do giveaways every stream. Mm-hmm. We'll do all sorts of different stuff. Sometimes we'll do shirts. Sometimes we'll do stickers and toys and whatnot. So just watch our stream. Stay all the way till the end. And be sure to DM me if you want a shirt.
Yes. So once again, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, it's at it's Jesse and at Latin Vixen. He's like, hey, no judging here, okay? No judging. And also, I want to give a big shout out to Varric. Thank you so much for the donation. Very much appreciated for the pizza fund.
We will have pizza next time then. You guys can watch us eat it and we can do ASMR pizza going.
I know, exactly. So Varric, thank you so much for being our sponsor. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for being our sponsor. It sounds like I'm being fed.
I'm like trying to get me with my fat, soft, plump, doughy belly.
But if you guys want to watch our streams, be sure to join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. And just catch us on Twitter. We'll have the theme of what we're talking about. We'll probably just continue our horror theme because it's fun and we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
We also plan on doing challenges.
Yes. Oh, man, the challenge.
You should tell them before we say full goodbye.
Okay, so before we say full goodbye, the next challenge that we're going to do, I'm not sure if it's going to be in next stream. Alpha Wolfie. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Feed our plump bellies.
I was like, feed me.
Our bellies.
So for the next challenge that we're going to do, we're not sure if it's going to be next stream because we might be talking about scary stuff. But if it is, we're going to be doing the makeup challenge. And the makeup challenge is I'm going to be doing my sister's makeup. And she's going to be doing makeup to me.
Well, we're gonna split it into two because I know it's going to be a mess, and we're gonna see about having like two cameras so you guys can see different angles of this mess, and see how Andres can do my makeup.
Yep.
I can't promise anything. I don't know how your makeup's gonna look, especially with all that.
I know exactly.
All that beard hair.
It's like good luck.
Go in there. So we're going to try to do challenges, kind of like split it up a little bit. And we're going to continue doing, of course, like kind of chat alongs with you guys. And you guys want to hear us talk. Exactly. And of course, if you guys have any topics and stuff, just leave me a suggestion, of course, here on the chat or on Twitter. And then that way I can read it and then respond to you guys.
Yes. And I know I've been doing already a shout out, but I just want to give once again shout out to Varric and Alpha Wolfie for their donations. A shout out to Lolo for really contributing a lot, as well as you, Giovanni, and all the rest that I haven't said. You guys are amazing. This stream has been incredible. My sister and I have been having a lot of fun. Yeah. Keegan has been having a lot of fun. Like, So we love you so much, guys, and I hope you join in next time on Thursday at 7 p.m. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys once again.
Thank you so much, you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.